Okay, the meeting will then be officially called to order. Please stand and bow your heads as Trustee Corinne Saldana leads us in the invocation and pledges of allegiance.
Almighty and merciful God, we ask your guidance and blessings upon this board, students, parents, patrons, teachers, and administrators as we are assembled here this evening in the common pursuit of this great nation's wealth, our children. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Saldana. First item on the agenda is Superintendent's report. Dr. Woods.
Thank you, Ms. Freeman. Members of the board, just a couple of items to report to you tonight. One is an update on enrollment. We've reached the point not where the state takes its official count, but where we typically benchmark our official count. As predicted previously, we did come in slightly higher than we predicted for this year, and that is a good thing. A lot of the increase is in elementary grades. In fact, lots of students in pre-K and other elementary grades as well. So was able to attend and really honored to attend the award of the Excel Award to Jasmine Thompson, who's a first grade teacher at Braun Station Elementary, and she is exceptional. It's easy to see why she was honored with that particular award. It was really nice to spend a little time with she and her students in her classroom on that day, and with her family for that matter. As members of the board know, we do have an item later in the agenda on redistricting of single-member districts. We did hold two public meetings on that topic and got very little in the way of comment, and so we will bring that with a recommendation for the board's consideration later in the meeting. Also later in the meeting, I just want to highlight it here because I think it's important, is we'll talk briefly about the Declaration of Respect and the participation in that of staff and of students, and we'll ask the board to participate in that later this evening. So look forward to that conversation as well. So with that, National Custodian Appreciation Day is upcoming. It's actually October the 2nd, but we thought this was a good time to highlight one of our really special custodians. This individual has been at Helotes Elementary School for 45 years. He has seen, as you can imagine, generations of students come and matriculate through the hallways at Helotes Elementary. And in fact, he was once a student there himself. So we'll go to video moment.
You know that feeling you get when you know you've made the right decision? It's exactly how Tony Murato felt when he took a custodian job at Helotes Elementary School. So many years ago now.
I've been here for about 45 years.
That's right, Tony's been working to keep everything at Helotes Elementary clean and running smoothly for more than 4 decades. He was all of 16 years old when he got the job, a position he would have never been offered if not for tragedy.
My dad passed away and we needed money, and my mom couldn't work and my sisters couldn't work, and so I wanted to work to support them.
Tony found he loved the work, and what started as necessity quickly turned to passion.
I love to be here. It just feels good.
The job can be demanding, which is good because Tony has never been one to sit still.
There you go. Thank you very much.
If he's not busy cleaning, you can probably catch him in the cafeteria checking up on the kids.
How's your day?
I need someone to touch the shoe.
The shoe?
Yeah.
Over the years, Tony has become so much more than his job title implies.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
He's a custodian He's a mentor and he's a friend.
School principal Casey Crick says it's a reputation Tony has worked hard to earn.
He knows our campus inside and out.
Good.
If something needs to be done, you can 100% count on Tony to get it done.
How's your day?
Generations of Helotes kids have had the pleasure of knowing Tony, lives that were forever impacted by his kindness.
Over the years, there always sometimes they come by and they say, Tony, I remember you. Or they see me at the store, I remember you, Tony. From way back. They already have kids. Your mom used to go to school here, and she's a teacher now, huh?
Sadly, Tony's retirement may not be too far away, something no one around here likes to talk about, including Casey.
When Tony retires, we are going to have big shoes to fill.
As much as everyone appreciates Tony, he says the pleasure has always been his. Long ago, Tony realized this school was so much more than a job.
It's like my home to me. I felt good, and, that kept me here.
It may have taken a tragedy to find his way here, but Tony, a former student at Helotes himself, says darkness can sometimes bring with it beautiful new beginnings.
Yes. Yeah, it sure does.
Yeah, that was a nice story. Really nice story. Thanks for that. Appreciate that. Northside TV folks really enjoyed that. And with that, Ms. Freeman, that concludes Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Woods. Next item on the agenda is board members' report. Any board members that would like to comment? Ms. Saldana?
Yes, I would like to thank the NEF Foundation for an awesome gala and for all they do for our kids, and really for the teachers, because the Northside Foundation raises money solely for teachers. They can request an application, and then they find some kind of project that they think that they would like to have but don't have the funds for it, and the Northside Foundation, if they are chosen, they give them the money. And I have been to schools and seen the results of that and the surprise on the teachers' faces, and so I thank the foundation for all the work that they do. Also, I have been to many football games and volleyball games and have enjoyed every one of them. And so thank you to our coaches, our athletes, our parents who go out there and support their kids. We were at the annual TASB conference for administrators and school board this past weekend and really enjoyed that, because as a new trustee, there are just so many things that go on in the state, and that's the time that we can bond with other boards from other states, and I really enjoyed that. And then finally, Go Public. I hope that all of you will get on the Go Public website and see what a tremendous jobs our high schools do, our middle schools, our elementaries. Everywhere throughout Bexar County, good things are going on. And this morning we met at Judson's ISD and got to see a lot of the good that Go Public does for our community. And it is something that's there for parents. Parents can get on that website, gopublic.com, and find a lot of information and determine what is best for you. They go through courses, they go through explanations, and I think all of you need to get on the Go Public website and see what they're doing. Thank you, Ms. Freeman.
Thank you, Ms. Saldana. Mr. Lopez?
Thank you, Karen. Yeah, piggyback a little bit off of what Corinne said. I have been to some of the football games as well, and I have to say that this year it has really been exciting because I've seen the band and the flag team, and I've even seen middle school band participating with the performance with the high school band. So it was really good to see that, and seeing the parents, seeing them there at the front, at the fence line, watching, taking pictures, videoing the performance. It was really great to see. And they have been exciting games that I've been going to. But what really made it the most important was the excitement that the band brings to to the game, because you hear the bands competing, rivaling up the competition between the high schools, and they're competing with each other as far as music and as well as in the game as well. But it's really great to see that kind of interaction. So it's really been good to see that. So I'm very happy to see that coming back. I wanted to make a couple of recognitions of some individuals, one having to do with our art department. Terry Yasgers, the visual arts supervisor, one of her teachers was given an award, and his name is Larry West. He was named the 2022 Outstanding Middle School Art Educator of the state of Texas, and this award was definitely deserved. He has really done a lot for the art community and for his campus, so he was recognized for that as well. Additionally, Northside was also named TAEA, Texas Arts Education Association District Distinction in 2022. That's a prestigious award. I mean, it's only given by 5% of the school districts within the district in the state of Texas. So it's good that we have those recognitions and we have those type of teachers that are involved and that are being recognized for the hard work that they do. I also wanted to talk a little bit about another individual that I happened to attend a labor union event during Labor Day, and one of our teachers, who was a teacher at John Jay High School, didn't know this, but his name is, let me find, I have my notes here. His name is Tracy. I'm sorry. He was awarded he was awarded, one of the awards was recognizing his accomplishments in the school district and within the labor community. But what's interesting about this is that he was an entrepreneur. Before he got into teaching, he was an engineer. He had an engineering firm. He sold that. He got into finance, sold that business, and then got into teaching because he found his passion in teaching. So just wanted to recognize him. He's also a member of the AFT. He's the executive vice president of that. So wanted to recognize him on that. And that's it so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Ms. Chumley?
So I want to start with, it was funny because I ran into a teacher who watches this is a dedicated teacher. He watches our board meetings every week after our board meetings. And he said that's because he learns a lot about a lot of other things that are going on in the district. And then I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was like, well, y'all do those reports? And I said, yeah. I said, it's because we are so large that it is hard for us to make everything. And so we share with each other the events that are going on in our district. And I think it's really important that we let people know about all the positives about public ISDs and the things that are going on in our schools. And I think that there's a lot of misinformation out there. So if y'all will give me just a little bit of time, I just want to brag on a few things about our district. One thing I wanted to publicly thank Craig Noonan. He retired. His architectural firm, Noonan, it was Noonan, then it was Noonan Ritterman, then it became KNR, actually was in business for 100 years. And so Craig just retired, and they had a reception for him. And he talked about how much he enjoyed being partners with Northside and what a good district we were to work with in relation to building schools. And Noonan, if you go back, built schools in the 50s, 60s for us. I mean, they worked with us a long time. So I just wanted to recognize him because I thought that was quite an accomplishment. Gerald, I just wanted to say, I'm hearing so many good things about your efforts on grandparents and grandparents raising their grandkids and really bringing to the forefront how hard that is. and how, you know, there's a lot of challenges for our grandparents. And I really appreciate, because I didn't realize, you know, I knew that we had grandparents raising grandkids, but I didn't realize how hard it is sometimes, just from the legal perspective, the who has custody perspective, the benefits perspective. So thank you for doing that. I'm real excited. Saul Ross has entered into a partnership with ASTA, which is our ag magnet, and with CCA. So ASTA is having a laying hen program, and Saul Ross is going to be part of that as well. Saul Ross is really, they're really interested in doing the farm to home, which is one of Commissioner Miller's, you know, real directives, but they're really interested in that farm to home on production. And they use their garden, and they help their kids learn about healthy eating, and they share what they grow with their families. Anyway, I'm very excited because CCA is going to build the chicken coops, and ASTA is going to provide the laying hens and the expertise. And so we will invite all of you to a welcome to the birds when when they make it to Saul Ross. And then another thing, and I want to really thank Mr. Ortega and Irene Zinsmeister and AJ Talamontes for being so excited. And it's really neat because I think the kids are already talking about who gets to name who. So the other thing that Saul Ross just was found out they'd received is they had the Boeing STEM Academy by SAMSAT. The classes go from October 6th to January 12th. They're going to align it with ADVID. And all of the students that graduate through this program get their own laptop. So it's really a great, and I think it's wonderful that Saul Ross's academy that actually went for this and was able to, the school, to receive it as well. NEF staff, well, actually the NEF board, the Northside staff, and all of the volunteers, thank you, thank you, thank you. The NEF Gala was a really nice event. It was nice to be with a bunch of very positive people that support public education, and specifically Northside. So I want to thank all those. And because he won't say it himself, the young man dancing on stage with all of our student performers was Gerald's son, Lorenzo. He is so joyous in his presentation that he's just, please tell him he is very fun to watch.
And he gets all that from his mother.
And then the Go Public event, Bobby, that was really great today. And so I want to thank Bobby and Brian for being part of the founding group that actually, you know, had the idea and really went and pushed forward to have Go Public. And I think that we're going to see a lot of really positive information coming from them for public schools. Last board meeting, we had pretty much a large part of our Northside Police Command staff. So we had Chief, and we had Lieutenant Fryer, and we had quite a few of the sergeants. And we didn't really get to say much to them but they were being recognized for all of the help that they gave to Uvalde. And the Uvalde superintendent, I saw him this weekend, and he's very appreciative of everything that we've done. But, you know, people talk about, we're worried about our safety in Northside. So I just want to share some really positive things about our Northside Police Department. We have over 100 police officers. They are fully commissioned by the state of Texas. They hold the same type of commission as SAPD, Bexar County, DPS. A large percent of our Northside officers hold advanced and master's certification as peace officers. They have had specialized training in de-escalation techniques, crisis intervention, school-based law enforcement, which is very important because it is different from being a police officer on the street to being a school district police officer and on our campus with our kids. And they've also had training in threat assessment. The Any Baby Can Foundation has recognized some of our officers for their contributions and training in autism. We are one of the few school districts that has a specialized unit of 8 police officers that focus on elementary schools. In this group, I guess I'm going to call them a SWAT. That's not what they call themselves, but they have that specialized training in certain weapons, door breaching, and of course, active shooter. In fact, all of our Northside officers have been trained in active shooter or threat assessment. And I want to just talk briefly about those unsung heroes in the dispatch area. They man, if you haven't had a chance, you need to go see our dispatch area, because those dispatchers are on top of everything. They actually can look at 8,500 security cameras, and they also can view the officers' body cams, which are new that we have now, but they are on top of everything. And so they gave an example to me where they showed that, say, there was a disturbance at a campus and someone was walking up. From the dispatch, they can look at the camera and they can lock the doors. So it's just an extra set of eyes and protection, and I was really impressed with that. So they, just to let everybody know, our police officers are on duty 24/7, 365 days a year. They make a difference in thousands of students' lives. They are, a lot of times, they develop that relationship with our kids on our campuses where kids feel safe to go to them if there is something that concerns them on our campus. And I think that takes a very special man or woman, and I just think that they are a group of individuals to really be celebrated, and a very positive for our parents to feel secure. And then, if you give me just one more minute, I love CTE, y'all know that. I am a huge proponent. No one can ever accuse me of not liking career tech. And I just have been watching some of the really great things that are happening in our career tech program. So our health science students are actually able now to go back to in-person clinical rotations, and they will be rotating with Methodist Healthcare, Baptist Healthcare, Christus Santa Rosa Hospitals, and the Heights on Huebner. And this is the first year that our Certified Nursing Assistants program at Marshall LMS will be participating in those clinical rotations. Anyway, I thought that was pretty exciting that they're back in person. The Merrick Brothers Construction Company offered 12 paid internships in Bexar County this summer. 8 of those 12 paid internships were awarded to Northside students, to Northside CTE comprehensive construction programs. I think that's pretty good, that 8 out of 12 were our kids. Ag in Action is happening next week, so if any of y'all have an opportunity to go, I think it's Tuesday through Thursday. I think lunch is Tuesday, and they've invited all the trustees. The most favorite question of, I think it's 3rd and 4th graders that go, and it's a very large percentage of kids that come through. So it's the ag kids doing the presentation, holding their animals, and the most question is, does chocolate milk come from chocolate cows? So I really like that. And I'm just going to tell a real quick story. So we had a board member one time that went to a stock show with me, and she was talking to our ag kids, and she was talking to this young man about his animal and going on, and they had this great conversation. And then at the very end of it, he said, "Mrs. So-and-so, it's not a sheep, it's a goat." She had said, "Congratulations on your sheep," and he said, "It's a goat." So I think we all could probably use a little bit of support with that. And then just one other thing, CTE dual credit, just continues to grow. We have 10 additional teachers in our magnet and comprehensive programs. We offer 3 level 1 certification programs, plumbing at CCA, electrical at CCA, and welding at Clark. So I just think it's really important that when people say we don't have the same opportunities as any place else, that's just not true, because we have more opportunities in public schools, and specifically in Northside schools, than anywhere else. And so I think it's important that we start really talking about the positive things that are happening in our schools. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Chumley. Dr. Hara?
Thanks a lot. I just was going to send out several thank yous. There is a group of parent volunteers that are adding another safety net, if you will, at Hobby, and I drove by the other day, and they're called the Hawkeye Parents, and they greet students in the morning. Most of them are dads. I didn't see any moms, so I did ask the principal to let's see if we can get some moms and grandmas out there. And he was wonderful. He was greeting, and then there were some retired teachers. Brad Hughes, Abby Hughes' husband, was out there. So it's a place to go when you retire too. But it was so nice to have them open the door and peek in and greet. I just, as a future Hobby grandma, I just felt like, oh my gosh, another layer of safety. So shout out to them and schools that are doing that on their own. And I know that's just one example, but all our schools have added safety nets and all kinds of things. But I did want to say something to Dr. Wood. So we watched the Run, Fight, Hide, right, with our grandkids and talked about it. And Nico, we were just he was going to see it the next day, and we were very just trying to figure out if he was too young or if it was good, but we thought we'd just sit around and talk. And he goes, Grandma, he said, Dr. Woods doesn't have a beard in this video. So I was going, oh, okay, we can answer that question. That's an easy one. And I said, well, this was made before. Yeah. So that was his only question, was about your beard. And then I did wanted to do another shout out to Lucy Bada-Podmore, who is the librarian at Clark. This year, she's serving as the executive director for the Texas Library Association, which is a very prestigious position. But she gave up so much of her time to be at Tasby and talk with people from all over Texas about library books and their association's position. But she's so knowledgeable and she's so wise, and I thank her so much. She was able to talk with several of us as well, and so we're very lucky to have her in their district. She also has Mo, the therapy dog, that goes one Monday a month. And I would love that every one of our schools has a Mo, the therapy dog. So I think that'll be you get backpacks. I want dogs, Gerald. So we'll get them somewhere at schools. But anyway, and then the last thing I just wanted to mention is James shared, James Mitchell, I emailed him to say how wonderful the fine arts students were at the gala, but also I'd love to see where can I find all the plays and the musicals and everything that are going on in the district. There is now a district calendar. So you can go to the Fine Arts webpage and you can pull it off by month. And these are live links that open up. You can tell I recycle my paper. They open up to descriptions of who's doing it, what's it about. But in October, oh my gosh, you could actually spend every night at one of our schools or go from one school to another. But there's a haunted house, 1 hour play, interactive play that O'Connor's doing the second to the last week of October. There's Thrill-A-Mill, which is all Michael Jackson kind of music. And so I said, we've got our silver gloves, we're coming. There's Murder on the Orient Express. I mean, October is like jam-packed. Then we get into the holidays, but there's something every night. And you could save money and not get Majestic tickets. You could just go to Northside and, go for almost free. So anyway, but there you go. Oh, and Bobby, thanks a lot for hosting couple things. You did a couple presentations at Tasby. Go Public. I mean, thank you. I know you were already thanked, but I don't know people know how great a presenter you were. And I did the other thing. Bobby's on the John Jay SEA Advisory Board with me, and I accidentally went a day early in person. But I found a rescue dog, which was out front, and it was a great dog, and it's going to make someone is making someone very, very happy. Did you take the dog? I have a rule that if you open the door and the dog gets in, then it's your responsibility to find him a home. And so, anyway, but John Jay SEA wants our T-shirt sizes. So they have T-shirts. They also want us to round up some science fair mentors and judges for science fair and project-based learning. You don't have to be. I'm not a science major by any stretch of the word, but the students love feedback. And so you can email Crystal Mitchell, and she is the principal. But the day I went early, I got to stand outside with Gary Gutierrez, Coach Gutierrez, and meet all the kids. They all come up to him, whether they're in football or not. And he has such a special message for all of them. And so they were just coming up to get, a hug or a bump or just, be greeted and talked to. And he knew all of their names. And it wasn't just the football guys. There was one kiddo that came up with a broken arm, and I said, "Oh man, did you have a rough game the other night?" And he did, but it happened to be Coach Gutierrez's son. And so, and he had game films all ready to go, so he's out for a few weeks, I guess. But anyway, great school. Teresa was out there working the kids too. Just knowing kids' names and greeting them and smiling. It had such a good culture feel to it. You could walk down the hall and you felt like you were at home. So kudos to John Jay as a whole and John Jay SCA. There you go.
Thank you, Dr. Harrell. Mr. Blunt?
And I just have one sort of quick a comment, just based on all the different events and activities that we have been able to participate in, and it's coming up in the October time period. One of the things sort of realize when you're really around a lot of students, and I've been fortunate to be around a lot of students, especially the last couple of weeks, those services, programs, and fundings and other things are without a doubt extremely critical, but going by what Melissa just talked about the police officer and going by our video, that personal touch for every single child becomes really relevant when you're really behind the scenes to see what's going on. Seeing the custodian right now tying the shoes, that's daily. Those kids are really dependent on that, et cetera. Seeing police officers sort of de-escalate family situations that are not talked about frequently, et cetera, to help out a child, et cetera, and other things like that. It really shows how every single position we have, really from a kid's eyes or vantage point, is extremely critical that they provide that personal touch and they do that. So that really became obvious the last couple of weeks. I just wanted to pass that on. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Very good point. I wanted to congratulate Cass Teach. I know that's near and dear to your heart, especially Dr. Harrell. I know that you've been there, spent a lot of time at that school. They had their pinning ceremony the other day, and every student walked across the stage. Their name was called, and they got a pin. And you'll notice that at your seat, I don't know who dropped these off for us, but thank you. Excuse me?
Did they come from Dr. Woods?
Yeah,
Somebody.
but yeah.
Yeah, so these were the pins that the students got. So you have one of these at your place. I think it just makes them makes our students feel special as they walk across the stage. And it's really interesting because some of them are so nervous just to walk across the stage and receive their pin. These, of course, are ninth graders, and they were all so excited. So congratulations to them and to Cass Teach. We did have a TASB board meeting prior to the TASA TASB convention, and just to my fellow trustees, you may have heard at this particular conference there's a additional focus on advocacy and opportunities. You're going to be hearing more opportunities for each of us to learn more about being involved in advocacy and the issues involving public ed. And it's important for us to learn all of those challenges as we come up to the next legislative session. Also, you may have heard Dr. Robert Long had been hired as Division Director of Board Development Services. Phil Gore had left, and Dr. Long is replacing him. He currently is the Senior Regional Advocacy Director for Raise Your Hand Texas, and has worked, he's an EDD, has worked in administration a few East Texas school districts, including Cy-Fair and Alief. So we certainly welcome Dr. Robert Long to the TASB family. And that's all I have. Dr. Woods, I think next item on the agenda is recognitions. So board members, please go to the front.
That explains the parking situation.
Oh, I didn't see everybody.
Yeah, there's about 50 of them out there.
Ms. Freeman, Dr. Woods, my name is Ray Galindo, Deputy Superintendent for Administration, and it is my pleasure to introduce the members of the 21-22 Northside Leadership Academy, NLA. I also, though, before I proceed, want to introduce our Director of Leadership Development, Ms. Lori Gallegos, who, there she is, very instrumental with this program. So, for 47 years now, we've identified, that's right, 47 years, future leaders in Northside. When we've trained administrators, we've had specialized training in one form or another for future leaders. Beginning in 2013, which some of you may know, remember AIM turned into Northside Leadership Academy. NLA is a year-long program that focuses on core competencies as they apply to school or department leadership. The admittance process into the program is a rigorous one. Along with the regular paper application, we now go through a complete problem-solving exercise as well as an interview before someone enters into the program. So, at this time, or in just a bit, I'd like to introduce each graduate and ask them to come forward to be recognized. Each of them will come across, shake hands with you, receive their certificate of completion, framed one that looks like this. Yeah. And they will pick those up actually back at the admin offices. But they will come by and shake your hands first. In this group of participants, we have those who are now practitioners. We used to call them auditors. They're practitioners. So basically means that they have already gone into a leadership position, various areas, associate principals, assistant principals, but have not gone through the program. So they were in through as a practitioner. We also have the traditional group of aspiring leaders who one day hope to become a campus or a department leader. And we also have a couple of department leaders who went through the program as well. So at this time, I'm going to ask them to come forward. And it looks like we'll start with the department leader. Christina Eckert, our Director of Communications Department. Roel Canales, music teacher at Strauss Middle School. Courtney Shelby, academic support teacher at Mernon. Hannah Jackson, teacher at Tomlinson Elementary. Terry Pulido, associate principal of Insights. Alejandro Anderson, assistant principal at Holmes High School. Susan Schottler, assistant principal at Bernal. Elizabeth Reed, student services facilitator, Rudder Middle School. Israel Perales, administrative intern at Ross. Joe Bishop, assistant principal at Zachary. His wife, Latia Bishop, principal at Steuben Elementary. Jessica de los Reyes, associate principal at Steuben. Candice Olivares, teacher at Sotomayor. Amanda Garcia, student services facilitator at Rawlinson Middle School. Nicholas Garcia, assistant principal at Marshall. Jessica Lane, associate principal at Marshall. Oh, just got promoted. Christopher Burnett, assistant principal at Marshall. Melinda Clark, academic dean at Clark High School. Domingo Gutierrez, assistant principal at Jay High School. Roberto Munoz, Associate Principal at J High School. Andres Lopez, Academic Dean at Stevens High School. Denise Alejos, Teacher at Ellison. Melissa Carrillo, Academic Support Teacher at Glen Elementary. Beatriz Ramirez, Academic Dean at Jones. Lori Persine, Academic Dean at Garcia Middle School. Ileana Perez, Associate Principal at Forrester. Genevieve Orozco, Administrative Intern at Reddix. Jennifer De La Rosa, Associate Principal at McAndrew. Juan Perez, Associate Principal at Franklin. Renee Esquivel, Associate Principal at Northwest Crossing. Julianita Chapa, Language Support Teacher, Northwest Crossing. Krista Ackles, Programs Coordinator, Construction Careers Academy. Cheryl Alderman, District Section 504 Coordinator. Bernadette Gonzalez, Academic Dean at Warren. Jeanette Figueroa, Assistant Principal at Warren. Rachel De Leon, Assistant Principal at Harlan. Jennifer Flores, Assistant Principal at Brennan. Jarek Lancaster, Assistant Principal, Brandeis High School. Gabriela Aguilar, Campus Program Coordinator at Cass Teach. Jesus Villela, Assistant Principal at Jones. Ana Lopez, Admin Intern at Alternative Middle School North. Maria Ray, Admin Intern at Jordan. Elizabeth Lewis, Campus Program Coordinator, ComArts High School. Ashley Ham, Teacher, Los Reyes Elementary. Adriana Garcia, Admin Intern, Callison. And Adriana Martinez, STEM Teacher at Bolt Elementary. Yes, and we'd like to add that because you may remember, we had a COVID year, which we did not have the program, and therefore, second year, last year when we added, we had a few more. Typically, this was a group of about 35, and you just had about 50 that went through, with, yes, a number, Ms. Chumley, who have already moved into administrative positions. And the rest, hopefully, someday will as well. So, Ms. Freeman, with that concludes recognitions for tonight.
Well, that's great that we've had so many wanting to stick with the profession and be administrators, and that's very encouraging.
It is. Campus leadership is not the easiest role, and I
not.
appreciate those folks being willing to step up. And as was observed, a number are already in administrative roles. So thanks to them for being here tonight. Many of them have plenty of night activities to do, I'm sure.
Okay, so next item on the agenda is citizens to be heard. We have a short stack of some people who are interested in speaking with us. We believe citizens to be heard is important and meaningful, and we will listen to what you have to say. We value your opinions, although we are restrained by law from taking any action. We ask that you please address your remarks to the board, confine your remarks to a Northside policy or practice, limit your remarks to 3 minutes. At the end of 2 minutes, our secretary, Ms. Saldana, will hold up a yellow card, so you need to think about wrapping up your remarks. And at the end of 3 minutes, Your time is then up, and we will ask you to please close at that time. We ask that you don't make any personal attacks on individuals. And I know that when some people come up to speak to us, sometimes they ask us questions. We've had people come up and ask questions, and we do remain silent because we are not able to answer those questions. We want you to know that we're not being rude. It's just that by law, we cannot answer those questions here at this time. If there are specific questions, we do have administrators eventually will soon after this meeting or the following day, if possible, get back in touch with you so that you have the information that you need. And there are certainly various ways that you can get information to the board. We have email addresses on the website, and then people that talk to us as board members, we tend to try to put them back into the system. If it's about their child, we ask that they talk to the principal, etc. And then, but we are here to help that, and our administrators are very good about answering questions that people that come up to the mic have. Okay, Dr. Woods.
Anita Kegley.
Thank you. It's an honor to present to you this evening. I would like to thank each of you for serving on the NISD. And looking at your website, I noticed that the mission statement is working as a team of 8 in conjunction with Superintendent. The NISD Board of Trustees are elected governance board with a shared sense of purpose focused on meeting and needs of all the NISD students and the communities they serve. So I recently viewed the May 24th Board of Trustees meeting and noted the citizens to be heard. Many parents had valid issues and some were emotional. An example of such emotion was shown by a parent reacting to an inappropriate movie that was shown to her daughter at the school without parental permission. Excuse me. The mother's emotions were certainly justified under the circumstances. The reason that I'm here tonight and the question I would like to have an answer to is how are these concerns being addressed? During the May 24th meeting, President Karen Freeman asked for patrons to keep temperature down when addressing the board. As a parent myself, it would be difficult for me to keep my temperature down if my child kept screaming at night and couldn't sleep because of a horrible movie shown to her at school, no less. It would even be more difficult for me to keep my temperature down if my child brought home from school a book about oral sex and sucking a penis for pleasure, getting naked and grinding naked with another student. All of y'all are parents and have children that attend public schools. Are you in favor of the policies you are supporting for the education of the children in NISD? And how are you addressing these issues? Are you working as a team of 8 in conjunction with the superintendent, the NISD Board of Trustees, that are elected to governance board with a shared sense of purpose, focus on meeting needs of all NISD students and the communities they serve? I have minute meetings from June the 28th, from July 26th, and from August 23rd. And none of these, I don't see any agenda items that are addressing these issues that the parents are coming forth and saying, hey, we need your help on these. So I just wonder, are y'all's ears, are the parents' ears going to deaf ears as far as the board is going? I just want to know, why aren't these issues being addressed? And if they are, how are they?
Ms. Kegley, part of the frustration is that we can't do this dialogue, but I want to assure you that Northside has grievance processes. We have chains of command, and any parent that has a concern that has come to us, that has been addressed. We have gone back. Our administrative staff has talked to the campus. So I just want to assure you, we are not sitting here with deaf ears. It's part of this is that we just can't have this dialogue, but particularly when it's a child, that's not something that we are going to have public discussion on because of the privacy for that child. So I want to share that, and I've probably gone too far, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Jamie Markey.
I'd like to tell you a story about an everyday mom. This mom has children at NISD and personally knows two of the board members. One of them she has known for over 14 years, coached her daughter in soccer, and then handed her daughter a diploma when she graduated number 8 out of 692 seniors instead of the superintendent. These two board members once believed that this mom was good enough to write a recommendation letter for, and then a couple of years later approved the mom's hire for NISD as a teacher. Fast forward a few years and a couple of mask mandates later, and this mom is now labeled a disruptive domestic terrorist by the board, its super, and the NISD police. She was prohibited to participate in her twins' athletic events and any type of extracurricular or academic events, simply because this mom wanted to exercise her First and 14th Amendment rights as a tax-paying citizen to voice her concerns over NISD's continued effort to control and socially stunt the students of NISD. And though NISD dropped the illegal mask mandate in mid-October 2021, this mom was still charged with a criminal trespass by NISD and issued a court date without her knowledge. Subsequently, she was arrested on a warrant for her arrest for failure to appear in court because she had no knowledge of it due to a piece of cloth in her opposition to NISD's agenda. Though I am sure the board's members, its super, and the NISD chief feel vindicated for all the disruption the mom caused by simply trying to go see her twins' sporting events, I wonder if they knew that Officer Steele, who filed the charges, used to give that mom unwanted advances when they worked together. Do they know that Officer Steele...
I'm going to have to stop
Again?
you with that. If you have a grievance against a specific person, it needs to be handled as a grievance. We ask that you not name people because they're not here to answer that.
Okay, then I'll just say officer. Do they know that the same officer was repeatedly told by admin to stay out of that mom's classroom because he was disrupting her class for emotionally disturbed kids and making that mom feel uncomfortable with his constant close proximity? Or that same officer likes to boast about hiding and sleeping in his office to avoid working? Or how teachers gossip about his inappropriate relationships with students? Probably not, because I doubt the board, its super, and the NISD chief police would have allowed that officer to file the charge or allow this to spiral out of control and continue to
Again,
label
ma'am.
the mom. I said the officer, I did not say Steele, as disruptive when all she wanted to do was be a parent, participate in her children's education, and go to their athletic events. Instead, I'm sure they would have focused their efforts on retraining the police officers on proper conduct. If you haven't guessed, that mom is me, and I'm tired of NISD trying to silence and make an example out of me because I pissed off the super and his friend Golden Doe by not being a little good sheep and going along with their agenda.
I ask that if you have a specific grievance, we do have a process regarding that. Those were some.
Good job, Jamie.
I ask that there is no clapping. This is a warning. Anything else like that, you will be asked to leave the boardroom. We don't have clapping, nor do we allow any negative response to a person coming as well. Dr. Woods?
Courtney Pessa.
On May 24th, a father came forward regarding a book that his son had been given in school, and it was called Not All Boys Are Blue. He was subsequently interrupted by Miss Chumley in the middle of his reading because it was inappropriate. I have a First Amendment right to continue reading this book, and that's what I'm going to do tonight. There was so much excitement running through my body. This was much more than losing my virginity. For once, I was consenting to the sexual satisfaction of my body. This moment also confirmed that sex could look how I wanted it to look, and that it could be passionate and kind, fun and satisfying. His body felt great in my mouth. I came up after a while and kissed him again. We both got up and went into his bedroom. I remember the condom was blue and flavored like cotton candy. I put some lube on it and got up on him near his knees, and I began to slide into him from behind. I tried not to force it because I imagined that it would be so painful. I didn't want this moment to be painful, so I eased in slowly until I heard him moan. As we moved, I could tell he was excited. I was too, but the pride in me told me not to show it. I felt like I was in control and proud of myself for getting it right on the first try. I wanted to stay dominant in that moment. We went at it for about 15 minutes before I started to get that feeling. Weakness in the legs and numbness in the waist. I finally came out and let a loud moan out to the point where he asked me to be quiet because of the neighbors. I pulled out of him and I kissed him while he masturbated. Then he came as well. That night was glorious. I had conquered a fear and had sex with a man on my own terms. The years of suppressing my identity and not dating or kissing had all come down to this one magical night in an apartment on the outskirts of Richmond, Virginia. I didn't want to leave, and he didn't make me. I did, however, get up to make a phone call. And this is where I'm going to stop. I can imagine you probably know where else this is going. This is in our school libraries, y'all. Are you okay with this? I know you're not okay with this. I'm not up here to yell and scream and make you feel guilty, but it's y'all's fault for making us come up here to read this. I didn't want to come read this today. I've dreaded this all day long. I can't even discuss with my mom this stuff right here, let alone my husband.
Thank you, Ms. Pessa.
Yeah.
Your time is up. I will say that we do have a process in this district, as do most districts, of book review, and I think that this has happened. I don't know, but if you haven't done that, I suggest you look at that policy and then go through that particular process. I think we've dealt with this.
Well,
with
I'll
this matter.
explain to you that
Ma'am,
I know this father, and he has
Ma'am.
tried to go through this
Ma'am,
process,
we're done.
and he's not getting any response.
We're done.
That's fine, yeah.
Thank you.
We're done, and I want you to continue to think about this.
Please take a seat.
I would like to remind the board that that night we had Boy Scouts and young children in the audience. And Ms. Pessa, if you wanted to read that, I think you absolutely have the right to do that. But that night, it was not appropriate because we had children sitting here, and there's a whole, I just.
Ma'am. No,
It's
yes,
okay for our
ma'am, you're
children
out of
to
order.
read it, but it's not okay for Boy Scouts
Ma'am,
to
you're out of order. If you do not sit down, I will have to ask you to leave the room.
That's enough. Let's go. That really is enough. Would you like to clear the room?
Not yet.
All right.
Jack Finger.
Hi, Mr. Finger. I noticed that on the comment sheet you have mask mandate. You are aware that we don't have a mask mandate in this district, and we don't have any intentions of, at least right now, of having any mask mandate. I just didn't know if that would change your comments.
Very interesting, Madam Chair.
Okay.
And other members of the board, Mr. Superintendent Woods. My name is Jack M. Finger, and I must tell you that what I heard just a moment ago is pretty disturbing. And it all is a reflection of somebody's irresponsibility somewhere here in your district. But even deeper than that, I'm here to tell you that you people are in a big heap of trouble. Yes, someone in your administration had falsely arrested this fine lady over here, a parent of a child in your district, a citizen and a taxpayer. Why? Because she wasn't wearing a mask that she didn't have to wear. First things first, maybe you may just want to look at your little updates or articles that you had going back last October saying updated information about mask and NISD, effective Monday, October 11th, 2021, last year, NISD is modifying a temporary face covering mandate approved by the NISD Board of Trustees on August 17th. While face masks will not be mandated, we strongly encourage their continued use by all students, staff, visitors while indoors, etc., etc., etc. Excuse me, this lady she came by without wearing a mask. She supposedly was warned about it. She asked, well, am I going to be arrested? No, we don't think you have to worry too much, Ms. Marroquin. Then later on, when an incident takes place in Austin, she gets stopped by the authorities. She finds out she's wanted on an arrest warrant. Now, who the heck did that? This is really an outrage. I hope she sues the pants off you people. There's no excuse for this, especially when maybe y'all have heard something called Governor Abbott's Executive Order number 38. Yeah, 38 says no, mask mandates are not required for anybody attending governmental buildings for the most part. She had every right not to wear such a mask, yet somebody ordered her to be arrested because of such. Now, I'm sorry, that's a false arrest. Somebody needs to be fired on that. It's wrong. It's just, like I say, it's an outrage. And we here in San Antonio, in this Bexar County, we shouldn't have to put up with such craziness. Now, apparently people got some serious problems, not only with your library, but also with persons' individual rights. The question is, what are you going to do about this? And quite frankly, I and others who have spoken on this issue, we want a letter from you telling us what you're going to do about this.
Thank you, Mr. Finger.
Dr. Michael Stevens, I believe.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Woods and the NISD Board of Trustees. Thank you so much for listening to me this evening. So my name is Dr. Michael Stevens. I'm a former teacher and a current administrator and a father of 3 NISD students. I have a senior at Health Careers High School, a freshman at Jay Science and Engineering Academy, and a kindergartner at Henderson Elementary. So tonight I'm here to speak to you not as an educator, but as an NISD parent. Parents are the backbone of our NISD schools, as is evident by our award-winning PTAs, booster clubs, parental involvement in school events, and parent participation in district-wide events. Along with teachers, parents are one of the most important components to making our schools a success, which is why it is imperative that parents feel valued, respected, and understood by district officials. The fact of the matter is each of our campuses need parents in order to be successful. Students need parents to be successful. This board needs parents to not only be successful, but also to be reelected. Unfortunately, parents across the district have been left, of late, feeling undervalued, disrespected, and misunderstood when they have an issue that they feel requires the attention of this board. Although there is a system in place for parents to voice concerns regarding issues they feel that inhibit their child's academic success, mental well-being, religious beliefs, political ideals, or physical safety, that grievance process is tedious and frustrating, leaving many parents with their issues unresolved and with a feeling of helplessness. My ask tonight is for the board to refine the way in which parent complaints are handled. Parents want to feel that their side of the story is not just heard, but considered and acknowledged. Parents want to know that their grievances are not tied up in red tape or bureaucracy. Parents want to see that their voices are heard and that their issue, no matter how insignificant it may be to anyone else, is treated as a priority. Parents want the board that they elected to act on their behalf, or like the NEISD board found out this past spring, parents will vote in new board members. Thank you for your time, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of the evening.
Thank you.
Howard, and I may, Smilowitz, maybe? I apologize. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Board, for letting me speak. I believe Jamie, with the article with the governor, Article 38, you don't have to wear a mask. Okay, you have a lot of kids in classes who are crying because they're wearing a mask. You are violating their rights, okay? People are complaining with the mask, with the kids crying. Right now, you are failing the kids in school. These are going to be future generations. Your job, make sure you teach these kids. Now, I believe Jamie she served in the military, and you guys had to give her respect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wanda Longoria.
Good evening, Dr. Woods and members of the board. You may have heard me coughing. I'm recuperating from an upper respiratory infection. And the cough is lingering. So I'm not going to read my speech because that would take a lot out of me, and you'll probably hear me cough throughout the whole thing. I did hand Monica copies of the speech, but I will refer to what the speech is about. In an article from the Texas Tribune, September 8th, 2022, results were released from a new online survey of K through 12 teachers in Texas that showed that most were seriously considering leaving the profession. There's been a 19% increase from 2 years ago. The Charles Butt Foundation is the group that ran that report, and what they found is much of what we had found in Texas AFT and National AFT surveys done in the last 2 years. In addition to that, Texas AFT hired a nonprofit independent group known as Battelle for Kids to do a survey, and that survey as well showed that there are 2 components to why teachers are leaving. And the biggest one is environment, and the second is compensation. You see, although compensation had been lower, and for years we have not made what we needed to make as professionals, the environment was such that they had the community support. They had support from admin. They had tools, resources, funding. And so teachers were able to put up with the lower cost of living, knowing they didn't go into education to become wealthy at any time. But they were able to sustain the job they were doing, which today is unsustainable. So I'll refer you to those 2 things. I've shared some of that information with some board members, and I've actually shared them with principals because they also are very concerned. So what types of environment changes can take place? In a nutshell, lower class sizes. In a nutshell, admin not having mandatory weekly meetings. In a nutshell, less duties. Some teachers are doing before, after school duty every day of the week. Being able to give teachers the option of not giving up their conference time, because while we fight conference time, which is their right, and duty-free lunch, it is an exhaustive process, and many times teachers just give up under the weight of all of it. And so if we're talking about retaining and attracting teachers, we need to change what we're doing. We may not be able to change the legislature not giving us the funding we need, but one thing we can do is go out and vote for those friendly legislators who are going to support public school by funding them correctly. Otherwise, we will continue to bleed teachers at an alarming rate, and that will not only hurt our students, it will hurt our district as well as society. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
John Melendez.
Good afternoon. My name is John Melendez, and I'm a former history teacher. The reason I'm here is to defend my friend Jamie. We all know we live in trying times right now, and I know this board has made decisions in good faith on how to best deal with issues of public health. It is also important to remember, however, that the use of unfettered speech, even in opposition to what we may believe, is what allows us to grow in perspective, especially when we're setting policy that impacts our children's education. Now, hindsight is 20/20, I understand this, but what will the future generations think and say of these mask mandates and everything else that came with it? Furthermore, what will future generations think and say when they discover that North Independent School District called for the arrest of the one person who had the courage to speak freely in front of this body to stop these regressive measures? My friend Jamie has spent years as a special needs teacher and as an active member of the PTA. Now she faces a felony charge, and for what? For not wearing a 99-cent cloth mask over her face? For attending school-sponsored activities with her daughters? In what world is this America? On top of that, how are you going to charge her with a crime when all of this happened over a year ago? It just seems vindictive and mean-spirited in nature. Growing up, we heard stories of great men and women who stood up for change and justice during their time. I think especially in this country, we revere those who stand up to blind power. The problem with individual human beings standing up to power is they often have to do it so at a great personal risk to themselves. Throughout history, we've seen women like Joan of Arc, Harriet Tubman, and Florence Nightingale risk their lives for an ideal. A year ago, Jamie came here and she tried telling you that these face masks, were causing psychological damage to the children and impeding earnest efforts to educate our children. And she did so without wearing a mask. And how did you treat her? Like a criminal. You had the cops physically grab a woman who's about 5'2", and ever since then, a course of actions were set into motion, causing much strain on her and her family. What's the message you're sending by doing this? Children, parents, don't get out of line. Do as you're told. Obey any and all provisions we deem worthy. Is that what brought you into the education field? So you can wield your presence in politics over everybody else? Quit trying to make an example out of Jamie and start setting an example for the children of NISD. Help drop these charges, and let's all get back onto the business of preparing these children for college. Thank you.
Lee Roscoe.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. By the way, if you want the real scientific evidence on the mask, go to americasfrontlinedoctors.org and you will find the information that is supporting the people that have just spoken before me. As you can see, I'm a veteran. I'm a retired educator. I have a master's in education. I'm a former military policeman, so be really careful tonight. And I'm a published author and researcher. I'm here simply tonight, not only for Jamie, but to ask that you do not absorb the information from certain folks in Washington, D.C., that parents that come before you are terrorists. Now, I noticed today in the paper that Governor Abbott just declared some real terrorists, the Mexican cartels, who are involved in the murderous practice of trafficking. Those are terrorists, not a concerned parent who wants to be treated with justice just like you would if you were in Jamie's place. And we have spoken about the fact that I have my pocket constitution with me, which you all should be carrying, that she did not violate that constitution. We're not the indoctrinators. Have you read the book Masters of Deceit by J. Edgar Hoover? We have people in office today in high places that are not Republicans or Democrats. They're communists and they're socialists, and they're following the playbook of Saul Alinsky to destroy this country. So I would just ask that you would give consideration to parents as your equals who have worked hard like you have worked hard to get to the position that you're in. Don't be a political pawn, please, My wife is also a veteran. I did not put my life online in Vietnam for parents to be treated in this way, in the way Jamie has been treated. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Ms. Freeman, that concludes citizens to be heard.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is consent. Is there a motion?
Ms. Freeman?
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to, hold on just a second, let me find this. I just wanted to talk about something on it. I'm not going to pull it, but I did just want to talk about the consultant appointments. I think that I've got concerns in relation to this appointment, but more than that, I think we need to look at just expanding possibly the group of architects that we have, that we're using. I did talk to Dr. Woods in relation to this recommendation, and I do understand the thought process behind it, but I did just want to bring to y'all's attention that I am concerned about the recommendation that is being made, though I have confidence in Brian's solution on this issue. But I do think, though, that we used to have a very robust group of architects, and I'm not sure exactly what we do next, but I do think that we need to work with our facilities group to try to see about starting to expand that group again, because I think we're starting to get very limited on the amount of architects that we have. And I just think that this appointment is one that, to me, really brings that more to us than I think in the past that we have had. And I have great faith, though, that Dr. Woods has some solutions on some of my concerns, and we'll certainly keep you up to date as we move further on that. But I did just want to share that with you on that.
Ms. Chumley, as we get to the end of the meeting where we talk about future agenda items, maybe suggest that particular item again be put on facilities committee.
I think it's a good idea for us to talk about
If that's where you want
yeah,
to
I think
put that.
building committee would be a good place for that.
Okay.
But just with those comments, I do move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay. We have a motion for approval. We have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is under Facilities and Operations, schematic design of Rayburn Middle School. Mr. San Miguel.
Thank you, Ms. Freeman. Tonight we have,
Excuse me, Mr. San Miguel. I hear talking. I'm not sure where it's coming from. If it's a phone, please turn the volume down. Thank you.
thank you, Ms. Freeman. Tonight we have what we are noting as the last piece
Knock on wood.
of replacement at Rayburn Middle School.
For how many years?
And
How many years?
I just actually looked this up. My records show that in 2007 bond program, the first replacement occurred. Then in 2010, there was another replacement, 2014, 2018, and now we're in 2022. So given that, we've been at Rayburn for, if you count the years, maybe 15 years, maybe, something like that. And it's our commitment to ensure that we have a proper learning environment for our students. And so as a result of that, it's taken place over a period of time. So today we have for you, again, the administrative suite replacement at Rayburn Middle School. And Roy Lewis of Garza Baumberger, who has been at that school for at least 3 of these, of the 4 upgrades. And I keep telling him, I said, Roy, you get to do it enough times, you do it right, and then we can move on. So Roy Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Sam McGowan and Mr. Lewis. For those people who are sitting in the audience, it is not because of our contractors or our architects that we continue to revisit the school. We have specific challenges, special challenges with this school concerning, including the ground that it's built on. So, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you. Ms. Freeman, members of the board, Dr. Woods, thank you for having us here tonight. With me tonight is Rick Manning, one of our associates, who's intimately involved in this project as well. We're here to present the schematic design for the administrative suite replacement and energy control upgrade for Rayburn Middle School. This is an existing campus aerial here, and as you can see, the location of the existing admin building is quite a bit smaller than today's district standards for an administrative suite. What we plan to do is tear down that building and then replace it with one that is a bit larger in size. There are some constraints for that site. There's an existing fire lane. There's the parent drop-off area, as well as a courtyard there between the library and the new building. As you can see in that aerial, all of the parking spaces are pretty much full, as well as quite a bit of parking out on the street. Part of this project is we plan to redo the front parking to make it flow a little bit better. As part of this proposal, we would also like to increase the amount of queuing for this building by possibly extending the queuing around Building E and coming up with some additional parking for the campus in order to relieve the overcrowded parking conditions for the space. The city is in favor of increasing the queuing for the drop-off area as well. That parking lot that we're showing currently is not part of the bond, but we're going to see if there's some available funds or something like that to get that portion built. Building C that's shown there is increased in size. We are creating direct access to the canopy system that comes from Building J, Building A, and Building B as well, as on the lower level trying to connect directly to Building E. As we look at the floor plan, we are creating a central lobby that would connect the visiting public on one side with the canopy system of the school on the other side. Of course, there would be a secured vestibule or a secured lobby as you enter the school. You would check in with the receptionist. The areas that you see in the sort of light orange color there would be the reception areas off of the main lobby, including the main reception area, the associate and assistant principal's reception, as well as the counselor's reception offices. We positioned the counselor's office so that students could have a direct relationship and a direct entry. Oh, that'd be great. Thank you. Just to restate that the various reception areas would be here, the counselor's area, and then, of course, the main one that is right off of the secretaries where the secured lobby is. As you proceed down, you would have your conference room and principal's office. Over on this side, you would have the associate and assistant principal's office, the academic dean, the police coming off into this area. Attendance being here, and then a clinic directly off of the reception area. Towards the back, you would have your teacher's lounge, as well as the teacher's workroom, staff toilet rooms, the mailboxes, and then in the back we have a second exit out of the building where you could go downstairs or an elevator and then be on the level of the existing canopy system connecting to Building E. The counselor suite on this side would have 4 counselors' offices, a testing workroom, a testing storage area, as well as the counselor's records and a large conference room for meetings. This is an elevation. The existing library is at this location. What we propose to do is use the same theme as the library had with the use of 2 colors of brick on the building. But then as part of this work, we would like to connect both buildings with one continuous type of canopy system with a new defined entrance for the admin building and then its own entrance for the library in this one. We do plan to have a clerestory up above the lobby area of our building that is similar to the small clerestory that they have in the library as well. This is just a view looking towards the building. These canopies would be cantilevered out so that there would be no columns along the curb and driveway. You have your defined entrance into the admin area, and again, further down, you would have an entrance into the library as well. This is just kind of an aerial showing the massing of the 2 buildings together as you look back in that direction. And at this time, I'll entertain any questions.
Okay, thank you. I believe that it was Corinne, Ms. Saldana, myself, Mr. Lopez. You were at the last facilities meeting. Ms. Chumley, do you have any comments first?
I just had a couple. We had a really good discussion about this. In fact, I was not sure I liked it at first, but Roy showed me what I was thinking was not what was there to start with. So just one thing I wanted to bring out that staff, though, has reviewed this. I had a concern about, can you go to the page which shows the nurses' clinic?
Sure.
So I had a concern because there's only one exit from the nurses' room. But it was felt that, yep. Brian, can you explain? I can't remember the reasoning behind that. We were okay with that.
I think that's the standard. It would not be common to have more than one. As a matter of fact, I can't recall having seen one that has more than one entrance exit to the space. And so because it will be behind the security lobby, we generally don't plan for multiple exits. The same would be true of most offices. That's a standard. Classrooms, obviously.
I think I just have never really thought about it that way, and I'm sorry, I couldn't remember from our meeting, Leroy, what it was, but that was it, is because our design is that the nurses'
But
rooms.
there's a real rationale behind it. As you can tell, we may have students here that we can only service maybe 1 or 2, so they may be waiting out in the lobby, and there's no supervision. And so to put it in this area where we have secretaries and clerks and things of that nature watching, that is something that I know that our head of nurses actually shared with us, that it would be more advantageous to have a visual
See,
connection.
I was just thinking that we needed to have a door on the nurses' room on that other hallway right there. However, but is that something that we should be? I mean, I know we said, well, every other one doesn't have that, but is that something that we should be thinking about? So I wanted to bring that to the rest of the board's attention on that, and kind of get y'all's input on that. Is I know all of them don't, but does that mean that, when we have an opportunity to have a second door, or is it more of a safety issue having the second door? I think that was the discussion that we had as well.
Yeah, I think I would argue the latter, frankly.
Okay. Well,
And in some cases, because of how the clinic is designed in the campus, there would be no cost-effective way to retrofit, right? It would.
Oh, yeah.
It would
No,
be
oh,
extremely
no.
expensive.
I know
to
we
add a
wouldn't,
door.
but I just thought, since we had this opportunity, would this be one that we would want to look at? And I wanted to make sure that all the board was aware of it, because that was something that we did discuss at building committee. And then, John, can you so go to the next page? Okay, so in this picture, it looks like louvers.
on there, but then when you go to the next, it looks like those are solid, kind of clear-looking panels. So which one is it?
Those are the typical liner panels that we put in canopies. In other words, that canopy is on an angle. What you're seeing in that elevation is that light color would be just a liner panel. That's to finish off the underside of the canopy.
Okay, because it just, when you look close at this picture, it looks like there's louvers. And we did have a school where we have done the louvers, and we also have a fine arts facility now that is going to have those louvers. So that's what I wanted to ask on. Not that I dislike the way it looks, it just didn't look the same to me.
Louvers are very challenging from a maintenance perspective because we got a lot of pigeons in this
Oh,
area.
Leroy,
And
I'm
it is
fine.
not a
No,
good
I'm,
thing to have.
yeah.
And if Roy wants to put the louvers, as long as he commits to clean that up, you know,
No,
I'll be okay with it.
no, I'm fine with this. For some reason, I just couldn't remember all of the conversation on it. And so because, anyway, John, I think you did a good job, and I like it. Roy, why am I calling you John? Because I have John on my mind. Roy, why did I call you John? Who was I even thinking of? It's been a long day.
I'm sure.
But thank you for answering it anyway.
Just a point of
But Roy,
clarification, if you can go back to the site plan,
it looks good.
to make sure that site plan go one more. Okay, Roy expanded on the idea that once we're there and we have substantial
Why was I
construction in
calling
front
him
of it, that we're gonna do these parking lots.
John's on
We
my
did
mind.
challenge him and ask him what would be the opportunity for us to expand the parking, because if you've ever been there at these times, there's a lot of cars that line up. This part, which is from here to here, is not part of the bond. Just want to clarify that. However, we're going to bid it as an alternate, and hopefully we get good prices, and if we can afford it, then obviously it's something that we will ultimately recommend. Just want to make sure that you know that was not part of the original bond.
Okay.
But we take that opportunity every time we can, because we're going to be there once, probably for the last time, and it may be an opportunity for us to improve the parking at this campus.
Right.
Roy, I think it looks really good, and I think it's going to be a beautiful school, and I move approval.
Mr. Lopez?
To the question that you were asking about the nurses station, in all the buildings that I've seen, even in the new ones, I've only seen one entryways. So, I mean, I don't see it being changed.
No.
So, I mean, if you were asking an opinion, I'd prefer to keep it that way. if
The
at
way
all
we are.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So-
that's, and I'm sorry, I had written John down, and that's why it was in my mind.
Well, I've only known you for going on 20 years.
I
so
know,
think
exactly,
it takes
Roy.
21 years to get that right.
You know, age is just not fun.
Dr. Harrell?
So real quick, Roy, I just wanted to, I think it's a compliment, but I just wanted to double check. So in the counselor section where there's 4, I assume just traditional offices, and they were traditional when I was there, but the counselor's reception, is that a large space so that counselors could feel like a small group or like a restorative circle or something like that? Because we've talked about it with some of other new designs where we've wanted some space where more than 1 or 2 kids at a time could do something, right?
What we actually see is that 4th office be used that way. That campus
Is it an
has
office
3.
size though, like an office?
It does, but you could easily pull a small group in there if the furniture was
But
appropriate.
what's the counselor's reception then? What's?
That's literally a reception space where a student might come to wait, where a parent would come to
Oh, so
wait.
it's a waiting area.
Yeah, it's truly a reception space.
But they've got a conference room.
So could the conference room then be used for kids?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Oh,
They
okay.
They can use that as they see fit.
I'm looking at Mary Living, she's sitting
Sure.
right there, right? She's
Okay, so, and it's a good size, so, good.
It is.
It's
It's
not like a
design
box.
based. You have a design standard for that size for that reception, and we're meeting that square footage, and then we'll develop the layout of the area for waiting and for
Gotcha.
attendees there in that room.
Thank you.
It's one that we've used, oh my gosh, we're going back to Strauss, Bernal, Briscoe, and I know our councilman, and by the way, and we don't say this.
Because you said you were going to meet with them and get
We have.
feedback. Good.
They actually meet, we meet with the
Thank you.
counseling section, the administration,
Thank you.
police, and so forth, so on, prior to bringing it to building committee and then ultimately to the board. And then after we finish this, they'll come back and then we look at the details of what goes inside of it in a lot more detail.
Great.
So we've already vetted this with the department heads, i.e. counseling, and Mary's there because I remember she made some comments about that as well. The nursing component, administration.
Thank you.
And everybody that's affected by the stakeholders in.
Gotcha.
But let me ask on that, and that will go to a future agenda item when we get to it. And I appreciate your expertise, absolutely. What I'm finding though is that there's also a benefit of talking to, I call them SMEs, subject matter experts. To me, there's also a benefit of talking to the actual hands-on. And I bring that up with what Carol's talking about, in that I just think in our future processes on this, on anything, be it counseling, fine arts, that person with the boots on the ground in the role needs to be part of the conversation. And so I look to you to say, if I had that conversation with those counselors at that school, would they still say this is the right format, or would they want us to look at that type of room for counselors to be able to use? And is that something going forward that we need to look at? Because, I mean, we are looking at a lot of changes in trying to, I'm just thinking from even like from the library's perspective, how we're changing things. Is this something that we should consider, you know, as part of it? So I don't know, I just wanted to, Brian, what is your feeling?
I think we discuss it at an appropriate committee meeting is my feeling about it. I think there are obviously good reasons to do it, but there are also logistics concerns because there are 13,500 people in this system and they can't all be consulted. So we'd have to.
No, I was thinking about this specific school, but I am more than happy to wait and put this on a building committee, future building committee conversation. But I do want us to look at, you know, are there changes within the counseling, just like the changes we made within the libraries, that we need to be looking towards
Sounds good.
on that?
I appreciate that. No, when I was there, the only boots on the ground experience was when CIS was doing a restorative circle. They had to schedule them in empty classrooms and off periods. They could not do it in the space that was there. So I'm just hoping it's big enough for that kind of thing, because they're very powerful experiences for kids. So if, you know, if that's it, then that's good.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thank you. Any more questions? There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve schematic design of admin suite replacement at Rayburn Middle School. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
being
you
here.
very much.
Okay, and so Roy, we don't want you though to be planning on starting again, and just as we go through all of Rayburn, this is it, right?
This is it.
This is my tenure.
Thank you.
Thank you
you.
so much.
Okay, next item on the agenda is first reading of BED local.
So, Ms. Freeman, you and the members may recall, we discussed this policy on public comment a couple of times over the summer, including at least once with our attorney. And he took the feedback the board gave him the first time and came back with proposed language. That is the language you see in front of you. Nothing's been adjusted since that time. It clearly divides the policy into non-agenda items and agenda items, and gives the board the legal discretion allowable to manage those periods of time. So this is first reading. We will bring this back for second. I think we actually tried to do this on a previous meeting and pulled it due to the length of the meeting. We will bring it back for final consideration at this point at the October regular meeting.
Okay, and then to remind the board, there is really nothing that has changed specifically in here that we can't adjust right now. It just clarifies what our practice could be if we decided to make any changes. What I would like, Dr. Woods, is to have, I know that our attorney at the time said he had a new, or perhaps a revised statement.
Oh, yes.
Did he, I don't know if he shared
I
that.
don't
but-
think I've seen that yet, but we can certainly ask for that.
So either that or we need to look at it just
Yeah.
so that it's clear to our community.
Kelly, will you help me remember that, please? Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Next item, and I've lost my place. District Safety and Security Committee. So I asked Dr. Woods to put this on the agenda. Mr. Galindo had called me. As you know, we have a Safety and Security Committee here in Northside, and what its role is. There are TEA recommendations that on this committee there be 2 board members. It specifically says board president, although that could be adjusted, board president and another board member. So I bring this to the board to ask what you all want to do, because 2 of us should sit on this committee. And Mr. Galindo, how many times does this particular committee on safety and security meet per year? For how long, and do we have those specific dates?
Yes, ma'am. So 3 times a year, 1 per semester as per Senate Bill 11, and 1 time during the summer. And we typically meet in this room or at NAC, 3:30 to 5 is what we've done for many years now. And so the scheduled meetings we have for this year, the core group already met. Through the years, we've had a number of folks, including students, high school students. We've had parents. We have obviously PD, facilities folks. And so at any rate, this year's meetings are scheduled for October, February, and June, and I have specific dates to go with that. We're in the process, as you probably heard at some of your trainings, of getting trained. So there is an 8-hour threat assessment training that we're going through the process. We've asked administrators, and eventually the goal is for the whole committee to be trained in that threat assessment.
It is a time commitment.
It is.
Okay. To the board, Ms. Chumley?
I was going to say, I had talked to Selena at the safety, I know they have a long title, anyway.
Safety Center.
At Safety Center to go through the training. And so I would like to do this unless there's another trustee that would be interested. Oh, and I'll use this as a real quick thing to say. I ran into someone from another school district who said, "Oh, Mrs. Chumley, I'm so sorry to hear that you're not running for the board again." And I said, "Well, rumors are rumors." So I just wanted to say that, but I'd like to do this unless there's someone else that wants to put in the time to do that.
Mr. Blunt? You have your light on.
Yeah, no, I do. I was trying to figure out, I was looking right now. So is this captured in our, and I should know, our local policy also, whatever we decide in terms of, is it already in there? The board members, et cetera, and how the committee is structured?
It's a TEA recommendation. It's not in statute or in local policy or anything like
Do
that.
we need it there, or is this, okay?
I don't
okay.
think so.
No, you answered.
I think
Okay,
it's
thank you.
just up to the desire of the board.
And it might be at future times, we could, my suggestion would be to appoint this person when we do board reorg in May.
That's a good idea.
And we may consider that this
This
May.
coming May, right.
Right.
Agreed.
So it would be the president and one other trustee?
That's what the trustee, that's what the TEA document, it says the president and or one other member.
Dr. Harrell.
No, I was going to say, great, Melissa, go for it. And Karen, I think as president, yay. I did want to bring up, if there's a way that we could have a couple, one or two high schools, I would love student voice on that, if that's still possible.
Yes, we've done that in the past, and currently going through the process of putting together that, as well as parents that we've had as members of this committee.
Ms. Saldana?
Mr. Galindo, when you said the training, are they talking about a different training from what the teachers went through this summer for active threat?
Yeah, that's a different training. This is a more in-depth 8-hour online Texas Safety Center sponsored training that we ask administrators in the late spring to have hopefully 2 folks per campus to be trained. Texas Safety Center has conceded and said they don't have the personnel at this point to train so many districts, but they are trying to. So no, that's a different training from the one you're referring to, which campus staff got earlier, or actually are getting this month.
Okay, anyone else? Anyone, Melissa has offered to be that person? Is that okay? Yes. By acclamation, then can we just approve that? Okay. Mr. Galindo, then you have your 2.
Welcome.
And please let us know what those dates are as soon as you.
Actually, I have them now if you'd like. They're October 19th, February 22nd, and June 21st are the dates we are scheduled for this year.
February 22nd and June 21st.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's a Wednesday, right, the 19th?
Yes, I believe all of them. We try to keep it real consistent, same time, same location, and same day. So they should be Wednesdays, 3:30 to 5 is what we've done in the past.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is redistricting. Dr. Woods?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Rusty is going to give you a short presentation, and I believe Mr. Decker, yes, he is here. In case you've got questions for our attorney, he is present as well. As I indicated to the members of the board, the last time we left this topic, really the only thing left to do was to get public input, and we did that, or we provided those opportunities. There was very little input. Kelly will summarize what we did get. Much of what we got is not actually about redistricting, it's about wanting to join Northside from other districts. And so tonight we'll make a recommendation that the board consider the map that you looked at the last time.
And for clarification too, this has been on at least 2 board agendas, if not 3.
More than that, I think.
This is the 4th.
Okay, so this is the 4th. We also had a press release. I know that the information, 2 TV stations covered it. It was in the newspaper. So there was, I think we've done our due diligence in informing our community. And yes, we had very few people attend.
Yes.
Kelly?
Okay, so this is a short recap of things that you've all seen before. Monica, do you mind going to the next one? So you've seen this. This demonstrates the massive change in population that we had from the last census and what necessitated redistricting in the first place. So since that variance at the bottom between our least populated district and our most populated district is above 10%, that's what required the redistricting. So you can see that single member District 4 really exploded in growth. So go on to the next one. Thank you. And previously, after the last round of redistricting after the 2010 census, when the new maps were adopted, we were at 5%. So we were well within the 10% requirement. Go ahead to the next slide, please. So on the left, you'll see our current map, our current single member district boundaries. On the right, you'll see what's proposed and what we might be adopting tonight. Changes seem minimal. We've rebalanced District 4, and we've run a few of the districts along 1604 to make it an easier identifiable boundary. Go on to the next one, please. So this shows an overlay of the new boundaries on top of our existing boundaries. So the black lines show our current boundaries.
If you can click through the little bullet points, this kind of shows what went into the proposal. So we heard from the board what some of the main concerns were, some of the main priorities, that we wanted to keep districts intact as much as possible. So it looks like minimal changes because it really sort of is minimal changes. We, of course, rebalanced District 4. We ran districts along easily identifiable lines such as 1604. And then we maintained those small municipalities that were of concern, Leon Valley, Leon Springs, Helotes, etc. Okay. So these are the numbers with the new map. So you can see that the differential drops well below the 10% requirement, so we are in compliance. And just for comparison, back in 2010, District 4 was at a population of 72,000. And we went up to, prior to this map being adopted, 4 was all the way up to 134,000. So you can see in that line, in the column where you've got the two highlights, most of our single member districts now are within a close range of each other, all in the 90,000 range. Go on to the next one. Okay, so requirements moving forward. The first time that these new maps will be, or the new boundaries will be in use, will be the May 6th election. District seats 1, 2, 3, and 4 are up for election on that ballot. Northside will communicate information about the new map via the district website, social media. One thing to note is that when we do update our website, the elections department will not necessarily be updating their website at the same time. So we are going to put out, whenever we do adopt the map, whether it's tonight or otherwise, we will update our website to reflect and show the public what's already on the website under the redistricting page. But to really start getting the word out, the only kind of concern or issue is that there will be a lag in Bexar County Elections Department updating their database. So when somebody types in their address, until they update it on their end, it won't reflect the changes. So we're going to try to word it on the website to make sure that it's very clear to people if they reference back to Bexar County elections that there's going to be a lag. So what I've been told by the elections department is that they won't be able to update their system until after election, at least the November 8th election. Okay, so community input. So this is really the only new thing that some of you might be seeing. I think everybody's aware at this point of the majority of the input that we received. If you click through, there you go. We did receive a few emails. One of them was an inquiry about an individual's home address, whether it was staying in District 7 or changing. It was staying. The other emails were all from a neighboring school district wanting to be within Northside. And of course, we aren't changing our outermost boundaries, so it's not part of the redistricting process. So we did address some of their concerns. They had concerns with transportation in their own district, and we referred them to the correct people with their district. Two folks reached out to verify, so two folks at our community meetings reached out to verify which single member district they were in. They just took a closer look at the maps that we had on site that were printed pretty large. Multiple community meeting attendees asked various questions about the process, curious about why it's required, why we're doing it, what all goes into it. And by the end of the meeting, they didn't have any suggestions. And then one individual filled out a form suggesting that the board move to yearly elections, which is not relevant to redistricting, but that's the summary of the input that we got that we appreciated. So we're grateful for the folks who did show up in the evening to attend those meetings. And that's pretty much it. And we do have Mr. Decker here. If there are any questions, you should. I'm hoping that you can see the attachment with the resolution. Okay.
And I think we've looked at it a few other times as well. Thank you, Ms. Rusty. Gerald, did you have a comment? Mr. Lopez?
Yes, thank you, Karen. Wanted to say thank you very much, Kelly, for the presentation, and for the team and for the staff that was out there for the events, for the meeting dates. I think it's important that we did do that we promoted the opportunity for the public to come out and hear of the redistricting maps, whether it's 1 or 100 or 200. It's about us being public and open to the public about that. So thank you very much to all the staff that was involved in that. And Mr. Decker, thank you very much for working with us on the boundaries. It was important to us as trustees and setting our boundaries, making sure that they're fair, equal, and balanced. And so with that, I would move that we approve the resolution accepting the new maps for our boundaries for trustees.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the new redistricting maps. Is there any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and thank you. It's been a process. Mr. Decker? Congratulations. This was a good evening for you.
I'll be on time.
Thank you.
I won't be.
Yeah, you never know.
All right, Kelly, if you're okay, I'm going to go out of order a little bit and let the couple of leaders get out of here. Each year, we have brought to the board the notion of a declaration of respect signed by students, staff, and we ask the board to participate as well. So we've done this for quite a while, and it is led by counselors in our schools, and it promotes anti-bullying activities at the schools. We'll actually have the district-wide signing day next Friday, the 7th of October. This will actually be the 11th annual signing day for students and staff, and counselors have been equipped with training and materials and lessons to teach the skills necessary to students to promote respectful and safe and healthy school climates. So trustees are being asked to sign the Declaration of Respect. We actually passed a regular sized version around, so we'll take that from you, and then we'll also sign the much larger, more ceremonial document as well. So thought we might need a little break so we can stand up and go sign, and then we'll come back and finish the items under superintendent.
Is there an order in which you, so we don't smear the marker?
Yeah, top to bottom, so Karen.
In that case, you want me last for sure. And they probably all need to be dry before I sign.
Wasn't it me that smudged? I did jokes.
Well, I thought it was me.
I don't know what you want to take out those, or you do the minutes, the well, and the board talk. Okay. But no, I'd like a copy of these. Okay. Or you just get these back, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. And then those are people's. Okay. And I know it's a bunch, but I thought it'd be easier. No, that's perfect. Yeah, that helps me.
We can't. Are you serious?
Is yours red?
Turn off.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Oh, we can.
Bobby.
Oh.
I'm still bitter. Bobby.
Yeah.
I changed the order.
Didn't come out
And then
second.
Carol.
It was not pretty.
No, and there were some bad calls though, but still. Just so hard. And then your
Okay.
BB over there.
Feel good, baby? Too bad. Yeah. That's the J in there too.
That's very normal.
It is. Here we go.
Carol, you're over here. Oh, whoa, sorry.
Maybe I was you. And she too.
I can't hold it in.
Cheers.
Yeah, I think.
I remember that. I do remember that.
I think some folks took a little break. Oops. Like, and I'm sitting in the wrong chair. Hang on. I'm going to say something about y'all and you're out.
No, I stayed for most.
Sorry, I think we had an unannounced recess.
Yeah, right. I'll just say while the members are here, Ms. Chumley's signing the thing, that this idea is represented tonight by Mary Libby and Kimberly Ridgely, who are here with us. Y'all recognize these ladies, and I'll just say about them and about Northside counselors more broadly, that this is this notion of teaching students to respect each other and to respect adults, and other. You hear us talking about character traits in our schools is important work. It's led by these ladies who do great work on behalf of Northside kids, not only leading counselors, but advocating for counseling programs and teaching others about counseling programs in schools. So I just wanted to thank those ladies while they're here, and then we will give them the gift of the evening, and y'all go home and have dinner. Thanks, ladies. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, back to our regular scheduled programming.
Board or legislative
Yes,
priorities.
ma'am. So we'll ask Kelly back to the podium. These are legislative priorities that we have crafted, and they were presented in committee, discussed in committee. These are informed to quite a significant degree by the priorities we've had in the past. As you can imagine, many of them, the things that we believe public schools need, have not gone away or not changed. Now, that said, there are some things that have changed, as they do each, hopefully, legislative session, and that causes us to make some adjustments. There are also some new issues that crop up. So I do believe, Kelly, we've got one new item since the committee, that we want to highlight for you. We thought Kelly and I agreed this was an important one.
Yeah, that one. So all of these, as Dr. Wood said, these ran through policy committee, and we noted in that meeting that they are very closely aligned to the advocacy resolutions that were adopted to submit to TASB. This one, 13, we talked about it. I believe it was included within TASB, whether it was from us or from another school district. And as of late, this conversation has come up quite a bit in the legislature and some of the interim hearings, and it does seem that there's a pretty solid appetite for revisiting a cost of living adjustment for retirees. So there's discussion of different methods of how to achieve that, and how to sustain that going forward with potential future COLAs. So we tried to note that the board would be supportive of an immediate cost of living adjustment, as it's been almost 2 decades. And the implementation of a review mechanism to provide future COLAs when certain thresholds are met. We know there's concern over the cost for sure, and it's not always possible, but it's our opinion, at least, that it's worth considering a regular review mechanism to look at when it's possible to do that for retirees. So that's the only one that's new. All the other ones have made their way through the policy committee.
Mr. Lopez?
Thank you. I wasn't able to make that committee, but would this be an opportunity for us to kind of also consider another couple of other policies that may come into legislation in the future? And I'm talking about one particularly with grandparents, dealing with grandparents, and some of the laws that are being, or that are going to be created, centered around custody. Would there be an opportunity for us to look at something like that as well?
This is the opportunity.
Okay. So I don't know, there may be some legislation coming up pretty soon that I would like to see if maybe we could support those type legislations. And I think Senator Rep. Ray Lopez is going to be bringing something up pretty soon. I'm just not sure when. That would be a consideration for us to look at and advocate for. I do have another one also.
Before we leave that, I think what we would need is something slightly more specific so that we can craft an addition to the list.
Sure. Yeah, and I think he's crafting that right now, right? He's getting that stuff together. I just don't know when, but that's going to be one of the things that I would like to ask for us to consider. So there was another one also having to do when we talk about our CAS programs and we're talking about funding, and and we're talking about pathways going into teaching and creating that pathway for our students. From my understanding, there may be some legislation that's coming up or that is available that we should advocate for when it comes for funding, that we should be advocating our legislators to support programs like that, because we do have that one program with CAS. So I think it would make sense for us as trustees or as a district to support funding for something like that for our CAS program. So,
Specific to funding.
yeah, specific to funding.
Do we have?
And I have some legislation here that we could possibly consider.
So the date, November 14th is probably what Rep. Lopez is looking at. That's the first date they can pre-file for
Right,
session.
right.
So I know a lot of them are working on drafting language right now. And so the one that you're talking about for CAS, funding for specifically teacher,
For
Preparation.
programs dealing with pathways for students, anybody going into the pathway of a teacher, right?
You could call it Grow Your Own. That's kind of
Yeah,
the language
yeah,
TEA
exactly.
uses. Yeah.
okay.
Couldn't remember the word, but yeah.
And teacher residencies too.
So we have one in here on teacher residencies. I was wondering if there was an opportunity to include that in that particular priority.
Could do that. Could weave the two together. Yeah. That would not be hard to do.
What number is that one? I'm sorry, I'm not seeing it.
We have one on residencies.
It was,
So I'm wondering if you're thinking of one of the TASB ones.
No, it was ours. I remember asking you specifically about what a residency program actually is, and that was ours.
I think that was our submission to TASB.
it was
as a-
Oh, I see. Not all of those made it into
Not all
here?
of those, no.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
It
But we
might be
could
somewhere
take
in
that
10 and
language.
11, the shortage of education professionals.
See it just now.
Yeah, that was a TASB resolution.
Yeah.
We tag it.
We can take, I'll pull that language up right now.
Ms. Freeman, may I make a comment?
Ms. Chumley's next.
That's right. Go
No,
ahead.
go
Corinne,
ahead,
and
go
I'll-
ahead.
No, go
no.
ahead, and I'll come after you.
Go ahead.
It's not a problem.
I know that we have talked many, many, many times about salary for our teachers. But when I was in one of my sessions this weekend, I ended up at a table and we had to have group discussion. And the people who were at that table were from a small school district in Texas. And we had to tell them where we were from and how many students we had. They asked me to speak first, and I said we had a little over 102,000, and their heads just dropped, and I said, how many do y'all have? They had 200. Do you know what their salary is for their teachers? The minimum, 32,000. Yes, the state base, that's what
Wow.
that's all they can afford. So I felt, gosh, here we are, trying to work for more for our teachers, and this school district can only afford the 32 or 34,000. That was their salary.
Ms. Chumley?
So at TSA, the Texas School Alliance meeting, and I know we don't have it, and I should have asked, Brian, I should have asked you and Kelly ahead of time to have that. Brian had written down or presented the priorities for TSA, and it was a very succinct, clear, easy to understand. And his comment was that all of us working together, using these goals or incorporating those areas into our own legislative agendas would be more powerful. And I do think all of those are incorporated into this in some manner, just much broader and more defined.
More north side specific.
But I would like, if maybe we could send that in Friday letter, that
TSA
like the
priorities.
TSA priorities?
We're actually prettying it up. If you'll give me a couple of weeks, and we'll send the better looking version.
Because I thought those were really, I thought for us, they are really easy talking
Sure,
points
yeah, they're pretty high level.
for us to be able to use
Get you that. And that's
on that. And I appreciate that we've got the THC issue in here. Kelly, I need to talk to you and work with Senator Menendez in relation to drawing some legislation on that, if we can.
He's already agreed.
We talked to him.
Well, he has agreed, and in fact, I had talked to him last year, and he and Ray both had agreed. However, he felt like Donna Campbell would be a good person to approach
We visited about that.
on that. Okay, so y'all are on top of that, and I don't need to do anything.
No, we're on top.
Okay,
Yes,
all right,
definitely.
but thank you, because we really, where kids are really still having problems with that. That, and then this other one, I think, will be well received, Wanda. Ensure any new legislation that would include added responsibilities for educators allows for efficient and effective incorporation into an educator's course schedule without disruption to other established duties and focus areas. I think that is really good, because I know that our teachers are saying that what's been put on their plate, and they are using their lunch hours periods and their conference periods sometimes for duties. So thank y'all for having that in there, and for addressing that.
One of the representatives in a hearing last week, I thought, said it really well. He said, for anything new that the state adds to a teacher's plate, they need to remove at least 2 items.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Anyway, thank you.
Yes, and with regard to the teacher pay, I know we talked about this in policy, but just for the sake of everyone listening, the increase to the basic allotment would be the trigger for increasing teacher pay across the state.
That's why we specifically asked for that funding model.
I have a suggestion for language to incorporate the pipeline, strengthening the teacher pipeline. So I'm just kind of drafting it out right here. Support legislation for increased and sustainable funding to support and strengthen the teacher pipeline via grow your own programs, teacher residencies, etc.
Yeah, that's good. I like
send
that.
you something too that I kind of had in mind.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Others?
You had a.
Mr. Blunt, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Had a request this morning from another trustee asking if we might consider having a discussion, and I'm gonna broaden it a second, the coalition, just to say maybe we have a San Antonio area legislative priority. We did that very long time ago. So that's an interesting thought, because not only does it show the commonality, but it's also educational, so we can see what each others are thinking and what's going on, et cetera. So I don't know how superintendents or y'all would feel about that.
I don't think it's a bad idea at all. I think Julia Grizzard with Bear County Education Coalition would be glad to coordinate that with the coalition and pull trustees together. It would be probably a session kind of like what you see at, what do they do in February, Tasby?
Grassroots.
Grassroots,
That's
where,
how we do it.
where trustees wouldn't necessarily have to craft the language, but just say, what do you see as problems? What do you see that needs to be addressed? You know, those kinds of things, and she could look for commonalities.
Yeah,
I will
okay.
say we work, I work with the government relations folks from, excuse me, the neighboring districts, and then we collectively kind of weed through where we align, which is on almost everything. And we communicate that to the chambers of commerce as well. And so they try to pull from our language. So those conversations are happening where we're trying to make sure that we're all in agreement and that we align, but a more formal process, like Dr.
Mr.
Wood
Blunt,
said.
if you want to be connected with that individual, Kelly or I can make that happen.
Yeah, okay, that'd be good, okay.
Yep. I'll make a note of that.
Good.
So I think if that's a conclusion of the comments, we would ask for the board's consideration, considering Mr. Lopez's requests. And this way we can get these cleaned up and pretty, and in the hands of members and soon-to-be members after the election in early November.
I move approval of the legislative priorities with the addition of the items from Mr. Lopez.
Dr. Harrell?
I could wait to the vote, but I was just going to say, one thing that resonated over and over again at TASB, and then also with this boot camp that Sophie Torres is putting together with Raise Your Hand Texas, is to start, once this is approved, start getting the word out right away. Don't wait till January. Do it now when the legislators have time, attention, and personnel to deal with it. So as soon as this gets done and you get your language in, we need to zap it out and try to exponentially get it out with other people that we know.
I agree completely, and as a matter of fact, I intend to cover it with campus and department leaders on Thursday of this week at their meeting, so it's gonna roll out.
Good, thank you, thanks. So we can vote.
Okay, well, and I have one more comment. Ms. Saldana and I were at the delegate assembly, and as you know, we've submitted a number of priorities, resolutions from this district. I think I've said this before, but all of our resolutions were approved to go forward. Some of them were deemed duplicative of a priority or a cornerstone principle, and some of them were combined with some other districts' resolution. I will say the resolution that we had regarding the retire rehire, we had a 12-month qualifier in that particular resolution, and I turned to Ms. Saldana and I said, "Why did we put that in there?" Because there was somebody who was going to pull that for discussion and suggest an amendment that we delete that. And so thank you for educating me. And then I texted Dr. Woods and Ms. Rasty on it. So I just wanted to mention that that was the only vote that we had at the delegate assembly that didn't have any, after the amendment, that didn't have any opposition. So we just kind of chuckled, both of us together on that. But it was great.
That one has been a hot topic in interim hearings lately as well.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second for approving the legislative priorities as presented with the inclusion of a couple of suggestions from Mr. Lopez. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Rasty. And now we're looking at board superintendent goals.
Yes, ma'am. Also discussed during the summer was board superintendent goals for the year that has begun now. This was another one that I think was actually on a previous meeting and got pulled. Nothing has been done to this document since really right after our conversation, where I took notes from the conversation with the board and tried to incorporate them into the goals. You can see that the draft that's attached is marked up so that you can see what's new and what's been scratched from previous versions.
Any comments? We discussed that in our board retreat. Okay, is there a motion?
Wait, Karen, I'm sorry.
Sure. Just let me know when you're ready, Ms. Cholly.
I will. Hang on just one second. So I'm trying to remember, do we do kind of a, Brian, do we do a kind of a mid-year where we are in some of these? Don't we?
We do.
We do?
We send an update.
Because I'm really about improve the perception of the Northside School experience. I'm really curious on. We'll be glad to hear that.
All the more reason we need to try to get these acted on so that we can start working on that.
And then the voice of the student and the voice of the parent piece as well.
We took out quite a bit under and in the whole child,
Just because it had matured beyond those goals.
right, and then included. Okay, there's just one piece on the first one, to continue to foster and develop the Northside culture. I didn't realize how robust the NCN actually is, and would like to, and so is it too in the weeds, Brian, to include, the data from NCN? I mean, I'm not sure exactly how we would word that, but NCN is more robust than what I had thought it was. And they have questions that come from it that are answered and looked into. And so I think it's really important that we be included in the data that comes from NCN. And I think that we will feel better about our employees having a voice when we see some of that. So is that in the minutia on that, Brian, or is that something that would be appropriate to have included as a goal?
I don't feel like that's a goal necessarily. It's just, I mean, we make regular notes of NCN anyway. We can just simply share those notes with the board so you see what the feedback is, and if there were, if there are themes to questions, what the answers to those questions are.
Well, maybe then not specific. So what I'm looking towards is, I think that there's other data that is collected by the district that we may not have been aware of. And I think that it's important that any data that the district collects in relation to voice of the staff, voice of the parent, voice of the student, be that the distribution of it includes the Board of Trustees.
We can easily include the board on a summary of all of that.
Because I'm thinking of when families leave the district, when students leave their schools, all of those that I know that there's data pulled on. So does that need to be, though, in a board superintendent goal?
I think that's up to the board. I think the structures already exist. It's just you're asking that it be reported to the board.
Right, and so does that need to be a board superintendent?
I don't think so.
No. Yeah,
You're going to report it as
Right. We'll just send it to the board in the weekly communication once after we've had a meeting.
Well, I just don't know what other data is gathered that would be important underneath this specific board superintendent goal. So I guess I'll just leave that in your hands, Brian.
Sure.
That any data that is pulled in relation to the voice of these groups.
and it could be in Friday Letter Monthly
Sure.
or something like that. Okay.
Yeah, would be.
All right.
Okay.
Dr. Harrell?
So real quick, and I had emailed just a consideration, and I'm still not seeing it, but underneath, so you guys may be needing to help me with the verbiage, but improving programming around the notion of the whole child, going back to what you brought up, Melissa. The first three are real heavy adult goals, and then it talks about strengthening the SEL through implementation of morning meetings, which is elementary. Student leadership program is kind of vague to me, and then explicit SEL instruction to promote student SEL competencies. So my question there is, we know that's easier to do with elementary. It gets more challenging with secondary, but it doesn't mean it shouldn't be going on. So my question back in emailing about this goal was, what are we doing at middle school and high school to foster SEL and positive mental health, stress reduction, all those kind of things in a proactive, preventative way? So it seems like the burden's really on the elementary, which is great, because if you start young, that'll help. But what more specific mental health initiatives or SEL initiatives are going on with middle and high school?
So is that a goal or is
That
that like
I
a
think it's-
report?
Carol, I'm lost.
I
Are you
think it
in
is a
here?
goal. It's underneath, it's the red underneath, improved programming
last
around the
part.
notion of
the note-
educating the whole
The whole
child.
child. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I was trying to read.
It does, I mean, it does attend to doing something with families, which is really good. I still think it sounds very elementary, and we know issues with kids grow in nature at middle school and high school. I'm just wondering if there's more bite to this around those two, around secondary.
And I'm happy to add some language that kind of calls out secondary if that's the will of the board.
I apologize. What bullet point are we talking about adding, or would that
The
just be a
second,
separate?
I
the
think-
second to the
yeah.
end, expanding, I mean, the third to the end, strengthening social emotional learning.
Yeah, I think just something around kind of specific secondary programming.
And maybe Mary and Kim have something. I mean, elementary kids aren't the ones acting out in ways that are harming other children necessarily. And we have good anti-bullying, and we have, I mean, it's really heavy elementary. What is going on with secondary is what I'm looking at. I mean, how are we measuring our things are working at middle school and high school around SEL, mental health, and
How do you phrase that in a form of a goal, though? So
Well,
what I hear you have a
there's-
question. And
No, I think you form a goal with something specific so you can measure it. So their level of specificity is what I was asking about earlier. So I'm wondering, maybe then going back to Mary and Kim and seeing if they have, maybe it's adding to the series. And then what did we mean by student leadership program? Is that student council? Well, that's good and nice, but are we building student leaders? You can't measure something that's not real specific. It's challenging to measure things that are not real specific. So,
I'd have to get answers to those.
Okay.
I mean, certainly we can be more specific about what student leadership is. That's no problem. I think I'd have to visit with them about secondary and see what's reasonable to add.
So you could come back at a later time with this. So,
Could,
Here.
would prefer if we can get the rest of them approved.
right,
Then we can come back specific to Dr. Harl's ask.
okay. Ms. Saldana?
Yes, Dr. Woods, I'd like to go back to the beginning, the Northside culture. Do we do exit interviews when we have a teacher leaving our district and get a reason why they're leaving?
Yes.
And do they share that with you so that you know, are they leaving because they're moving? Are they leaving because they're unhappy?
Yeah. We offer exit interviews, and I've tasked the new employee in HR to come up with a more systematic way of doing exit interviews that's where it's not just an offer, but really more of a, hey, we really want to hear from you before you leave. More of an insistence on feedback, I guess, is the answer to the question. So that is going on, and I do get kind of summary data of, what are folks saying on the way out.
Anyone else? Okay, so,
The preference is that we go ahead and approve these and then come back.
Yeah, here we are at late September. I mean,
I know it's,
we're almost a sixth of the way through the year, even for students at this point. So yeah, that would be my preference, and then come back and address Dr. Harl's question.
okay, then I move approval of the board superintendent goals with the caveat that this will be reviewed in relation to the secondary SEL accountability.
Okay.
and then brought back at the next board meeting.
Programming and accountability, yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Is there a second?
Second.
Do I have a motion and a second regarding the board superintendent goals as presented? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. No, where are we? We are on to board member attendance at MASBA and the Texas TCB SBM. So it is I've realized that we had not done that this year. That's normally something that we take care of earlier. We have a MASBA conference coming up, and I don't know if anyone has registered for that particular conference, but it's not the end of this week, it's the end of next week. So you need to get the registration in before they completely close that registration, or the cost goes up. So please talk to Monica as soon as possible. There's an option for a one-day or multi-day pass to that specific conference.
Brian, what day are you on the panel?
Saturday, the 8th.
October 8th?
Yes,
Do you know what time?
I do. I want to say she said 9:45. I just have it as 9:30 on my calendar.
Okay.
And we are members of both organizations.
So we just need to get with Monica if we're going to do a one-day.
Correct.
A one-day or
pass.
multi-day, but do that like tomorrow if possible.
Okay.
And this is, what we're looking at is just reimbursement for those that attend the conference for the registration.
Yeah, that's the action item.
Okay, so yes, again, that is the action item. Is there a motion? Mr. Blunt?
I'll wait after the motion if you're waiting on that.
Okay.
I move approval of reimbursement for the MASBA and TCB-SBM conferences, attendance by any trustees.
Yeah,
Mr. Blunt?
I was just going to comment that the TCB-SBM one would be March 9th through 11th. It's actually at the Kalahari in Round Rock, and I will tell you this, just on the public record, that we had cut a very good deal about 2 or 3 years before it opened. So it's it's a lot of benefit to going. March 9th through 11th.
You said Round Rock?
Yeah.
And the MASBA conference is here in San Antonio.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot you're not supposed to hit it again.
That's all right. All right. Any other questions, comments? We have a motion and a second to approve the board member attendance at MASBA and TCB-SBM. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Future agenda items, Dr. Woods.
So attached or in your blue folder are some items that we're tracking for October. As you can see, that's not well filled out now, but it will be certainly by then. Just a reminder to trustees to send us any nominations you have for the 2022 Citizens Bond Advisory. We're standing that committee up, as 2018 is, for obvious reasons, coming to a close. So just a reminder to get those to Mr. San Miguel or to Monica so that we can invite those folks.
Can we have a list of those people who are currently on that committee, Dr.? Oh, okay.
We sent that, including those who said they wish to continue and those who
Okay.
asked not to.
All right, thank you. All right, anything else?
No, ma'am.
I do have a couple additions. We've talked about student voice for quite some time, and we still don't have anything solidified as to what that looks like. I know as trustees, we've all talked about several options, but we do need to be more focused in that and decide what it is we would like to do regarding student voice. So I was talking to Dr. Woods, and couple things that we could do. We could have a special workshop regarding that, or put that on, because I anticipate a lengthy conversation. My thought, we also could put it in committee and try to schedule that at a time when most of us can be there and brainstorm like 2 or 3 different options, and then bring it back to the full board for approval. So what are y'all's thoughts on trying to develop the model for student voice? Dr. Harrell, is that your?
It's for something else.
Okay.
Another agenda item.
Ms. Chumley?
I would like to do it sooner than later and have a session in this semester. And to do that, we need to have it in whatever committee we're going to put it in. Our call, have another, two agenda item retreat, if we can find, maybe use one of the second Tuesdays that we have to talk about that. Because it's that, and it's then also truly understanding that teacher voice. So I look at it as we have 3 things. We need parent voice, teacher voice, and student voice. And so I would like to have us have a retreat to talk about that, and the best way to hear that voice.
Okay. Mr. Blunt, did you
I was
have?
gonna say, and y'all gonna kill me for this, and we're talking high school students, right? I like talking to elementary school kids, to be honest, but that'd be very complex to do in this one. I think when we say student voices, we should be clear that it's high school student voices, correct?
I wouldn't mind middle school either. I mean, middle school has.
Why? Then you're gonna do that, why not elementary school? But anyway.
They won't be the same problem.
I think all that's for the future conversation.
Yeah, little kids,
I
little
like to
problems.
So
I would be fine too if we just left it at high school.
Yeah.
I think.
At least for right
For
now.
now, yeah.
And develop that model within Northside. And so is it,
So what's the best way then, is to have a retreat with just that agenda item, or have it at one of the committees?
I think that'll depend on scheduling. If there's a desire to have a lengthy conversation, I think retreat would be the best way to go. And we'll look for dates that both I'm available and all the trustees are available, and we'll see in the month of October if we can get that done.
well, or for most of us, it would still be brought back to the full board
Sure.
for discussion if somebody couldn't make it.
Yeah, but if we use the second and fourth are usually, the second was supposed to have been, when we have those meetings, if needed.
Unless I've already calendared on top of it, would be the issue.
Right,
the
that
rest
would
of us
be.
too.
Oh, and everybody else too.
Okay, so we're gonna try to do that. Ms. Saldana?
Now, with that, let's say that we chose to have a parent forum like we talked about, is that an open meeting, and can they talk if we, or is it like here that we can't say anything?
No, it would be different.
It would be a different meeting where it would be exactly for that purpose.
It's like a
dialogue.
special session.
Right.
Y'all be scheduled and identify.
And we would do the same with the high school kids and with staff.
Because it does come back to the full board we don't make any decisions at committee meetings. All right?
Got it.
That be okay? And then regarding consensus, again, there's been some thought, y'all, we haven't taken a board picture in a year and a half.
Oh, we need
So
to do
on,
that.
well, I'm just saying, so on the website right now, we have individual pictures. There's the 8 of us, and we have those individual pictures. If there's one person here that would like to have a picture, then I would say, okay, next board meeting, if that would be okay, or the next board meeting when we're all here.
I liked having the board picture at the stadium. I like that, and it's no longer there because the last one was.
The graduation?
No, in the press box.
So we'll shoot for that for October, Barry.
Yeah, it was, I think, 2
We'll
trustees
schedule that
behind.
likely at 5:30 ahead of the 6.
Well, there's several opportunities where the board picture appears, and right now we're using the 8 separate photos, so.
Yeah, it's just old.
So prior to the next
And I
next board
probably
meeting.
need to update my picture since I was 36 at that time, and I think that's what's on the, I think that's what's on the
Right.
website, though I personally.
Dr. Carl?
And I'm not sure if this is an agenda item, but maybe Renee, you can help me if it goes to finance. So yesterday, the leaderboard came out for the Day of the Big Give, and, you know, one of our a lot of charter schools got tons of money. But if we would have been in there, I'm just wondering what $126,000 could have done for our teachers, and like 100 teachers would have gotten almost $1,200 to help in their classrooms, and I think it's a missed opportunity. So I don't know where I go next with this. Does it go on a future agenda item, or does it go to committee first?
You had to give everybody sort of a context to some degree.
It's
Big
the
Give
Day
is
of the Big Give.
For nonprofits, so it's a big day in San Antonio. It's actually nationwide, but San Antonio really beefs it up.
Huge.
I actually have a couple of nonprofits I include in it.
But the top 10, of the top 10
But it's a nonprofit.
were
so
educational institutions.
Okay,
There
one
was
at a
a
time.
dog one, and there was some,
It's nonprofits again.
it's nonprofits, exactly, which we are. So,
So,
What-
it would have to be the foundation
Right, that's what I'm saying. I don't know.
participating in it. It wouldn't be the school system.
can we find out that for sure, just to double check that?
I'm relatively sure that's true. I also think, frankly, the foundation would
one-
generate more giving.
Okay, so we can just uncover, and if you don't mind.
Yeah, we can discuss that. I've got some things to do to research that anyway.
So you
Well,
want that on the finance committee, right?
Is
that
it,
what
can
you're
it go to finance committee, or?
It's really, it's,
So
this is an issue for the NEF board. This is not so much, unless it were an opportunity for the district itself to participate, and I'll be skeptical because I don't see school districts doing that. But if the foundation is going to be the entity that participates, this is really an issue for the foundation board. It's actually on an agenda of mine to talk with Cassandra about here at an upcoming meeting. Because that, in my mind, is the best place to go.
So can I piggyback on that, Brian? So Carol, actually what my intention was, since I'm the board liaison with NEF, was we had a meeting scheduled for, I thought, the 4th, but that's been changed to the 17th. And my intention was to talk to the NEF board at that time, and then I think that they will approve the action of us doing this, and if we need to run that through NEF, but then have a much more robust conversation about marketing. And I know that Gerald had some questions in relation to, distribution on that. I think that there's some, but I think the very first step is just to get the NEF board to agree that we can run it through the foundation.
I think, Carol, if I can follow you through, not to speak for you, but real quick, but I think Carol's question also relates to, because I know who's on there too. I've been tracking it for a very long time. The question is, those others that are listed on there did very, very well, number 2 and number 3. Are they doing it through their foundation, or are they doing it through their school district?
See, I think
Those
they're doing
particular
it,
ones.
I think they're doing through their school.
Oh, yeah, but it'd be interesting to confirm that, because I think you're really saying, hey, I'll say they are Great Hearts and Bases, who've always been very successful, if they're doing it through their school district route. Her question is, can we do it through our school district route? Is that correct?
That's why I asked if it could be on finance, because
Yeah.
I did ask the question last year with NEF, and it was, we did it one time and we don't want to do it again, kind of thing. It cost $250, and I even volunteered to pay $250. So I don't know that that's the route, and so understanding where some of that comes from is, I guess, a great start.
Well,
and you can try it again, and if it goes to the board, then that's great.
And Carol, my feeling on the response that you had was that that was a decision of one individual that was not representative of the NEF board. And so that's was my thinking is, you know, first off, say, if we need to go that direction, will they support that? And then work on everything else, which would be the marketing or, you know, how, I mean, just the explanation of it. And, you know, we have an employee drive too. How do those work together, you know?
Well, or do they at all?
Or do they at all?
Because what you see school districts doing is that is their employee drive.
And that includes NEISD, I think.
That is their employee drive. I can confirm that.
Which they run through their foundation.
I guess what I'm saying is there's no two separate events. There's one single event.
Well, that may be how NEISD does it, but it
lists how many
doesn't mean.
people donate though to it, and if that was true, that'd be a lot of people donating. Because on the leaderboard, it shows exactly how many, and I think with the NEISD, it was like 1,000 something. Those are funders. These are big time people who want to fund, and they do matching funds every hour of like 25,000, 50,000. I don't think that's our families and you know, our employees. It's big funders wanting to donate a lot. So anyway, we can find out more, and it would be really good to hear from an expert who knows all about it.
So, Dr.
That's
Woods,
my recommendation.
may I have a suggestion? I think you've already made your suggestion, right?
Right.
We talked to the NEF board and see where their will is and discuss an opportunity, and
Right.
then go from there.
After we find out, though, I think we need to find out first. Do we talk to NEF? Do we talk?
Well, we've got, now that the meeting's been pushed back, we've got a couple of weeks.
Yep.
They have the mechanism in place right now, so.
Yeah.
To award. Okay, so you'll find that out, and then we'll go from there.
Renee and I will work on
Report on it, okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, anything else?
Yes, I've got a couple.
Okay.
And it can go on building committee. How do we select and grow architects? And how do we prepare for bond projects? Which, I may not be wording it in the manner that Brian was talking about, but it's the question of who do we use when discussing bond projects? I personally think we need our SMEs as part of that discussion, not the director level. I think we need,
Well, we can talk about that.
anyway,
It's on
so,
facilities.
but
Right.
I would like those two to be on a building committee meeting, in fact, the next building committee meeting. And then, I don't know if we need to have this on a meeting, but, Leroy, we are having issues at Gus with the PA system. And then the other thing is, we had talked about that replacement of the window, if we could do something to be able to, at Ferris. So,
I think we'll just let Mr. San Miguel research those items.
okay, if you would, Leroy, on that.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. So the Board of Trustees on September 27th, 2022, let's take a 5-minute recess. Beginning at 8:55, we'll convene in closed session according with Texas Government Code Section 551.071, 072, 73, 74, 76, 82, and 84.
Can we convene in the superintendent's
Yes, in
office?
Dr. Woods' office. The Board of Trustees on September 22nd, 2022, beginning at 9:25 p.m., will convene an open meeting. We have appointments discussed in open session, appointments discussed in executive session. Is there a motion to come before the board?
I move that we accept or that we approve the appointments as discussed in executive session.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the appointments as discussed in executive session. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and unless there's any objection, the board ends its meeting at 9:26 p.m. on September 22nd, 2022. Thank y'all.